So I was recruited by the artist Peter Tunney, and Peter Tunney has a gallery at the Wynwood Walls, and he is a partner in a company called Goldman Global Arts that sort of programs the Wynwood Walls, along with the Goldman family that started the Wynwood Walls. And I met him through an artist named Days, and was invited to work on a project in Haiti, and we became friendly. And he had a big show coming up in 2018 in Miami. They talking about street art and graffiti because he read some of my books, and he knew that I was an expert. And I started helping him sort of create this exhibition, his own exhibition, 2 exhibitions in Miami, while he was in New York, because he has a studio in New York and a studio in Miami. So we started working together. In the process of working together, he said, hey, you know what, I really could use your help at the Wynwood Walls, because we've launched these galleries to sell street art and no one knows anything about it. And you're an expert, so why not do it? And I was like, well, I considered it. And then finally, I came down here to produce the shows, stayed in Miami for a month, and decided, you know what, I think I could possibly live in Miami. The beach is a pretty nice place to live. And so I relocated. My wife and I and my family relocated from the Northeast down to Miami to work at the Wynwood Walls and run their art galleries and become their sort of expert world in placing fine artworks in collectors' homes and just dealing with the public. And so that got me to Wynwood to work and Miami to live. Before that, for the past 10 years, I've been coming to Miami anyway because my mother lives down here, and I've been coming down here to visit and paint in Wynwood. So I'd come here almost every single year, many times around our Basel, and I would paint in Wynwood. And I was also, and I worked with an artist named Swiss Beats, who created an art fair called No Commission. And so I was director of sales for that, and that happened in Wynwood. And so I've been around Wynwood and seeing Wynwood change from 2010 or 2008 or not, whatever, photographing everything, because I still take photos. I have tens of thousands of images. I'm taking photos every day of everything. And so I have photos of Wynwood over the past 10 years. And so I've witnessed it change dramatically from a very sleepy neighborhood to a neighborhood where artists were living in, to a neighborhood that had lots of galleries, to now a neighborhood that has no galleries and lots of fancy buildings and very expensive restaurants. And so it's quite interesting to watch gentrification happen so quickly. And just to give you context, I grew up in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Williamsburg, Brooklyn is now one of the hottest neighborhoods in New York City. When I grew up there, no one knew that Williamsburg existed. You'd say Williamsburg, no one knew anything about it. There was no reason to go there unless you had family there. And that meant you were either Puerto Rican, maybe Dominican, or Orthodox Jew if you're Hasidic. That was it. Those are the only people that lived there. The only outsiders that came besides family members were people that came to the neighborhood to buy drugs, because there was a lot of drugs in the neighborhood, heroin, crack, you name it, everything was there. The neighborhood now is entirely different. 40 years later, or 30 years later, is different. I remember when the first rock and roll bar opened up in Williamsburg. It was outrageous, like 1992 or something, and we started seeing the punk rock hardcore guys from the Lower East Side, from CBGB, in our neighborhood, and we were confused, like, you guys, what are you guys doing here? And you're not here to buy crack? What is this? And the first buildings going up, and now Williamsburg is as ritzy as Tribeca, million-dollar apartments, waterfront. I mean, it's totally gentrified. There is probably no graffiti or next to, it's gone, you know, in a neighborhood that had so much public art and even murals. And so very different neighborhood. And so I see that happening in Wynwood. When you start putting up 12-story buildings, 20-story buildings, office buildings, everything is glass, everything is driven by capital, the neighborhood changes. Artists can no longer live in the neighborhood. Galleries are priced out because all these one-story buildings that are everywhere are ripe for the picking for a developer to buy, demolish, and put up a tower. And so what I'm seeing today is probably equivalent to Williamsburg in 1998. And so seeing Williamsburg in 2020 with the William Vale Hotel, with the whatever hotel, where, you know, rooms start at $500 a night, I know where Wynwood is going. Now, will it work? I don't know, because I mean, it'll work. It just won't be Wynwood anymore. It won't be a neighborhood that is known for art. It just won't be. It'll have to be known for something else. And I guess now they're considering this neighborhood to maybe be more of an entertainment neighborhood. Since all the galleries are gone, you can't really say that it's an art neighborhood. They sort of still say that it's an art neighborhood because it's covered with graffiti and street art, so it's a street art district. But once all the big buildings come, there will be no more street art. And so it'll have to morph into an entertainment district or an office district or a residential district. And quite frankly, it'll just be another cookie cutter neighborhood that once was very cool and now is like Midtown or Brickell or any other boring residential neighborhood that people go to sleep in, but there's no reason for tourism to thrive here. So Wynwood gets 4 million visitors a year to come to the Wynwood Walls and come and see the art in the streets. Those tourists won't have any need for this neighborhood, so the neighborhood will have to reinvent itself, because how else is it going to survive economically without tourism?